My story, really quick. I mean, I have many stories, but the one that's been coming up is thought I met my soulmate, 2 years, 7 years together, 2 years married, guy I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Um, Sent me on a retreat, self-care retreat, told me he loved me. I mean, he was love bombing me. And then when I was gone, packed up his bags to be with his 30 years younger employee, his soulmate, I guess. I don't know. Learning a lot about the person who I thought he was. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What's been coming up is grief. And because obviously I'm going through a grieving phase. It's been 3 months, way better than I was. But what's been interesting is in this awakening of my spirituality is that other people have been coming to me about their grief, and it just seems to be happening where people from my past are coming in. And I remember reading this book about grief, and grief is basically what I learned was what you thought your future was is no longer. And it could be a death, which is the obvious. It could be infertility, because you thought your future was having a child, and that's not happening. It could be the loss of a job. It could be, the child that you had dreams for went in, a different direction. I mean, grief comes in so many forms because it's all about that future that you saw. And the other thing I learned is that grief cannot be compared. So, sometimes people feel selfish, like, what do I have to be upset about? It's just a job. You lost a kid, You can't compare grief because nobody knows what you're going through. And I remember I lost a child. I had a stillbirth. She was almost full term. And I went to a grief support group, and there were all types of people in that group. There was someone who lost a child who had been alive at 1 or 2, someone who had miscarried in the first couple weeks, someone like me who had to deliver, but the baby was still, and someone in the group who didn't even know they were pregnant and had a miscarriage. And she seemed to be one of the most grief-stricken people in the room. And everybody started with like their own comparison. Like, well, it must be so hard for you because you saw the baby. You had a 1-year-old. So, you were much more attached. And that woman was like, no, I feel sorry for you because I got to spend a year with my child. I got to hear her laugh. I got to see her blue eyes, and people almost felt like guilty for grieving so hard because they were comparing. Grief is personal, and everyone deserves grace in their grief. And so I figured I would just say that to people who are grieving right now. If your future that you saw is no longer, you have a right to grieve. And hopefully your compassionate friends will understand, like, it's not about comparing a job to a child to whatever. It's your grief, and you have to go through that process. And I'm sorry for anyone who's grieving today. Peace.